Joining me now, Ross Beaty, the chair of Equinox Gold. Great to see you again, Ross.
Nice to be here, thank you.
You're welcome. So a big milestone recently, the Greenstone mine is now producing commercial production a little while ago. So how is that going to add, what's the impact on Equinox?
Oh, there's a whole pile of impacts. Like, where do I start? It's one of the biggest mines in Canada. It's the third largest gold mine in Canada, one of the highest grade. We've spent 3 years building it, and actually almost 4 years since we acquired Premier Gold that owned the deposit. So we've been really focused on that for a long time now. We have 7 other mines. They've been running in Brazil and Mexico and the United States, but this is the first time we've built something in Canada, and all of a sudden Greenstone's by far our flagship asset. It'll produce around 400,000 ounces a year for about 15 years with the existing reserve base. It'll produce at a cash cost of, an all-in sustaining cost of around $1,000 an ounce. So fabulous margins, huge cash flow. And after, 3 years of spending, $750 million to fund our 60% share of the CapEx, all US dollars, by the way. We then last May, a week before we opened the mine, we spent $1 billion buying out our partner's 40% stake. So now we own 100%, and now we're about 50% Canada, 50% the rest of the Americas. By far the lowest cost operation of ours. It's going to drive all of our costs down, allow us to de-lever very quickly because we borrowed a ton of money to get the mine going. So it's just going to be a tremendously, truly transformative asset for us.
That's fantastic. I can sense your excitement. That's great.
It's great. Well, like I said, while you're building these mines, the market is always a little wobbly because they all think you're going to blow your budget, you're going to take twice as long, and that was the tradition in many companies before us, and we're the first company in a long time to build a mine on time and on budget in Canada. So there was a lot of skepticism, and a lot of analysts were saying, we're going to spend way more and take a lot longer, and you're going to stress the company, and it hasn't happened. And then of course last year we had this just glorious run in gold. We would have been happy with a $1,900 gold price. We're delirious at $2,700.
Yeah.
It's a really nice time to have this mine open.
Right. Now, a few years ago, we talked to you about Lumina Gold, and at that time you were saying, we're setting it up, we're going to put a bow on it, and we're going to sell it. So where does that stand? Yeah,
so that's still the plan. I mean, a year ago, I really thought we had a deal with another company, and it never happened. It was kind of complicated, but we've actually been to the altar 3 times with that asset. It's a great asset, just unusual stories in each case, but it's still on the block, kind of. I mean, we're doing a feasibility study. We got $300 million in financing from Wheaton to buy a stream on the property. We should be finished our feasibility study in April. We have our investment approval from the Ecuadorian government. It's a giant deposit, but it just shows right now the nature of the market today. This is a deposit which is advanced, de-risked, social license, government license. It's 22 million ounces of gold in the resource. We should produce about 300,000 ounces a year for 25 years. I mean, it's a really, at a very low cash cost, way less than $1,000 an ounce. But the market cap is about 140 million US, and the net present value at say $2,400 gold is about $5 billion. 5 billion, 140 million. It's nuts, and there's no, Ecuador is a good country now. There's just no reason, so it's driving me nuts. But I'm going to see what I can do to fix that this year. And of course, one of the reasons our second deal we took the altar didn't work is because the company that made us an offer wanted to do a cash deal, not a corporate deal. And the price wasn't good enough for me, and it's certainly not going to be anything near the current market cap. So anyway, that's what's going on. There's no issues on the project. Great team of people, and we'll see what happens. April, May, we'll be done the feasibility. The numbers will come out, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're still clearly seeing this disconnect between gold and gold stock. Even a year ago, you were talking about that, and you were putting money to work for the first time in 4 years. So how's that working out?
Yeah, not great, not bad. I mean, I'd say it's about flat, to be honest. It's about flat. So, the reason that a year ago it's not terribly unlike it is today. The reason I went back into the market as an investor, not just as a developer, was because I was seeing this crazy disconnect. I was pretty optimistic that gold was going to do well. It has done well. I didn't think it was going to do as well as it had. It's up 27% in a year. But you know, I really thought that the juniors and the gold equities would actually do what they've been doing for 70 years, which is track the gold price pretty well. Gold price, if anything, the disconnect has got greater.
Yeah.
It's not entirely, last year wasn't entirely a disconnect. Between February and October, gold price went up 20%. GDX, which is an index of large cap gold producers, was up 50%, 52% actually. And the GDXJ, the smaller companies, was up 58%. So that leverage did work. And of course, a lot of that was given back in the last couple of months of the year. This year, it's very hard to make a bearish case for gold. That sounds like a contrarian's dream. It's very hard to make a bearish case for gold. I mean, every analyst in the gold industry and investment industry is bullish on gold. You know, just look what's happened even this year. Strong dollar, gold goes up. Weak dollar, gold goes up. High yields, interest rate goes up, or gold goes up. Right. Low yield, gold goes up. It's really profoundly bullish because the real buyers aren't the North American typical buyers, they're Asian buyers, central banks, retail investors in China, India, and places like that. So it's very easy to be bullish on gold, and I have to say at some point there's a catalyst that will bring the juniors out of the doldrums, bring more money into the space, which is one of the other problems today. A lot of the money in the business is passive investment money. It's ETFs, it's momentum traders, it's money that doesn't have anything fundamental to do with value. It's passive money. So a lot of the money in the space is there, and that hurts the smaller companies because there isn't that pool of capital for financing the companies that are here. There's a lot of really good companies here. I think a year from now, incoming tide should float all ships, variably depending on quality.
Right. And Russ, you've said in your career, you've seen at least 4 or 5 cycles. You've seen them many times before. You don't know when it's going to happen, but you believe at some point across the commodity complex and precious metals that people will make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, this particular cycles they're all a little different, but generally speaking, they've gone up and down. We had that wonderful super cycle in the 20s, turn of the century, and it's still intact. It's been going quite a long time. We had a serious bump in the financial crisis, and another bump in the short period during COVID. But gold's, I started Equinox Gold in 2018. For example, to build a custom-created vehicle to give investors leverage to higher gold prices. I was pretty sure the gold price was going to run. It was $1,350 then. It's $2,700 today. And I always challenge myself: what will change in the next year? It's hard to make predictions. Yogi Berra said, "It's tough making predictions, especially about the future." So you're never going to be perfectly right. But I try to challenge: why would gold go down? And what trigger will happen for generalist investors to come into the space, phone up the investment dealers and say, I want 10 gold stocks, I want big producers, I want intermediate producers, I want some juniors that have the beta, that have the leverage. That's when you're going to see a hell of a jump in the juniors. Everything's going to double overnight. It's happened before, that'll happen again. I thought it might happen last year, didn't really happen. Some companies did, but it's going to happen.
All right, at some point. That was great to see you, Ross. Appreciate that. That was great. Great information.
Thank you.
Ross Beaty, he is with Equinox Gold, and he has a long history, very successful. Ross Beaty, our thanks to him.
Thank you.